we're talking about the Celtics lost game 5 at home to the Hawks. They lost game 5 at home to Philly. Does plus 260 at BetMGM for the Heat in this next game interest anyone? It's a pretty good number. I know,
I'd
me
like
too.
to
It is.
Yeah.
Good number. I'm not going to do it, but I wouldn't talk anyone out of it just because, I mean, again,
Jimmy off
Butler
that
can take over a
beer
game.
and wine. I'm gonna ride with the Heat. I think money line here.
Ham and beer and wine.
It does go back to our philosophy though, Joe, where if you like the dog, you might as well bet them on the money line, and definitely that should be the approach here. Where
I think
either
260 is a lot. That's a great number.
It is a great number, but hedging it and saying Miami plus 7.5, that I think is the worst play you could make of, say, the 3 alternatives.
Yeah.
Because this, again, playoff games are likelier to be blowouts. And to me, this is probably going to be a blowout in one direction or the other. Heck, if you want to play the alternate spread game, be my guest. I mean, there may be some value as far as picking just the right number. But either the Celtics are going to win this thing going away, and we're going to see a putrid performance by Miami offensively. Joe, you mentioned the health at the guard position. That is a real thing. At some point, Miami could run out of warm bodies, and that would be a problem. Wouldn't be surprised if Game 5, we're seeing these sort of weird minutes rationing approaches, but at the same time, it won't last for the entire series. That's when that key Game 6 will come into play.
This Denver team is a juggernaut. Denver just comes at you in waves. I talked about Miami coming at you in waves with their role players, but it's across the board with Denver, with Nikola Jokic, with Jamal Murray. Aaron Gordon has stepped up. Of course, Michael Porter Jr., we've seen him have some nice games against the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. But my worry for whoever survives Miami and Boston is them not having enough left in the tank to go on the road to start the NBA Finals, the first 2 games in Denver with that altitude and keep up with that pace. Now you're looking at a Nuggets team that clinched the Western Conference Finals on Monday. They're chilling. They're resting. They're good to go, right? I mean, they're going to get their rest. They're going to be ready to go games 1 and games 2 inside Ball Arena. So I think it's justified with the number there just because of their pace of play and what they bring to the court. Nikola Jokic, we know no one can match up with him. He is a matchup problem no matter who you try to put on him. The Lakers tried Anthony Davis. They failed. They tried LeBron James. Had some success on a few possessions here and there, but ultimately failed. Hachimura had a few moments here and there, but ultimately failed. So if it's Bam Adebayo, if it's Robert Williams, if it's Al Horford, hell, if it's Miami in the NBA Finals and they try to throw Jimmy Butler on Nikola Jokic, you got to try and throw everything that you can at them, but it's not going to work just because they are that well coached, they're that well executed as a team, and they understand where to make you vulnerable in certain positions, whether it's the high pick and roll with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic and Aaron Gordon on the backside throwing lobs or dumping it down to him on smaller defenders, or if it's Kentavious Caldwell-Pope stretching out the defense with his 3 off dribble penetration from Murray or other guards. So I think Denver is going to be in a situation, if it's Miami or if it's Boston, they could be looking at a potential sweep or a gentleman's sweep. So I think that series, the NBA Finals, will be done in either 4 or 5 games because they are that well-oiled as a machine.
Spieth at 14-1, I think there's incredible value there. And at least, going down the board, top 5, top 10, I think that's also worthy. The wrist injury is the question, though, because it forced him to withdraw from the Byron Nelson, which I know he didn't want to do. He did get through the PGA Championship. He did make the cut, but he was never in contention. And so even though the wrist injury is something that I'm flagging, at the same time, I think his course history has been so good, I think it overwhelms any kind of injury concerns that I may have here, Joe.
Yeah, course history, top 10 each of the last 4 years. He popped last week, 29 at a major. And then if we go back a little bit, Heritage and the Masters, he was excellent. Top 5, both. So I understand back in speed 100%. Could we have been more wrong on both series, Carolina and Dallas going down? What are we? 22-25-1, I believe, somewhere in that range for each of them to win the cup. Is that, you think it's more possible in hockey to have a 3-0 comeback or no?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
it's happened before, so there's that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. But it's limited, right? It's not a large number.
no, just a few times that it's happened.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it has at least happened.
Yeah, that Flyers comeback in 2010. They ended up playing the Blackhawks in the Cup final. And so this terrible team had to win in a shootout just to get into the playoffs. So they do. So again, working in TV, we're like, all right, you know what? Win one series, give us a little bit bridge to baseball season, and
Right.
that kills some of the dead time, right? No. These guys come back from 3-0 against Boston and go all the way to the Cup final where we all knew they had no chance, and they ruined our summer. So, yes, that is the one time I specifically remember it happening.
Yes.
I think also about this,
Vividly.
we keep talking about it. What version of Ottinger are we going to get? Is this what's going on with him? Because once again, he was pulled.
We're at the point now with Ottinger to where I don't know if there is another version of him other than bad. He gets pulled in this game. And he's allowed some bad goals to Vegas. Look, Vegas could win the cup, and if they do, good for them. But I'm not going to put these Golden Knights in the pantheon of greatest hockey teams of all time. I won't even say they're fortunate, but the quality of their hockey does not lead me to believe that they are these world beaters. Not by any stretch. The Stars should have made this series way more competitive, and for some reason they lost their minds in Game 3, both as a hockey team and as a collective fan base, as we saw near the end of that second period.
At the end of the year, I still expect the Rays to be, on paper, probably the best team in the American League. If they have all of their guys together at the end of the season for the playoffs, even if they're missing one of Springs or Rasmussen, but they get two of them back, with Glasnow, or one of them back with Glasnow, I think they're still the best team on paper. They also have bats like Manzardo, Curtis Meade coming up from AAA at some point, who are going to make their offense even more complete. But for the regular season, with the way things are trending, I believe that gap was 10 maybe a week ago. And now the Yankees have gotten it down to 5 games. Kind of a similar thing with the NL Central. That gap was maybe 10 games at one point, and the Cardinals have gotten it down to 5. So the Cardinals, the Yankees, two teams, again, preseason positions that I had that essentially you can just get better numbers now on. And I would imagine if I reread my numbers today, I haven't redone them in a while, but if I did do them today, based on, where I expect these rosters to end up, I would imagine those are two teams who, relative to where they are in their division, would probably be teams I would value. One team I do want to comment on, though, the Rangers, who do have a lead in their division. I was considering them, but then I looked at their schedule and realized they have played such an easy strength of schedule so far. They actually have the most difficult strength of schedule in, I believe, the American League the rest of the way. Yeah, 508 winning percentage is second most difficult schedule. The Orioles are the only team ahead of them, but the Rangers have played a very soft part of their schedule. I think that's why they padded up wins. I like them as a team. I think they can stick around for the wild card, but I would expect Houston to overtake them at some point, assuming Jose Altuve isn't going to go back on the IL. I know he left the game yesterday.